We are back, Vintage Sports from the Old Garden, Nedick's at the Old Garden on 48th Street. It's all memories, folks. Nedick's is gone, the Old Garden is gone, but we're here, and week after week we relive sports from those golden years way back when. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. The co-hosts of the show are Alan Blumkin, George Case III, and Hal Bock. We're all here, and we have a special guest. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun for me on a weekly basis. My guest is indeed special. He's, I don't know, how do you start describing a man and his accomplishments? I'll start by the fact that he was a college point guard under Mr. Wooden, and along with then Lou Alcindor and Shackelford and some great UCLA teams, went on to the New York Knicks, played on championship teams with the New York Knicks, went to the Philadelphia 76ers, played on playoff teams, did not make championships. A couple of years you were right in the finals. Went on to coaching, blah, blah, blah. You just tremendous success. Mr. Henry Bibby. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Hal. I've been very blessed to have had a successful career. And I say that from the standpoint of, not the Michael Jordan of the Kobe type of success, but success from the standpoint where I couldn't do any more than what my body would let me do. So in my eyesight, I'm a Hall of Famer because I pushed myself to the limit, and I did play on some great teams, and I did have a lot of success in doing that. So in saying that, it's been a nice long career for me, 40-plus years of basketball, and I'm still hanging there with some things that I'm doing. And I know you talked about that a little bit. I have a foundation. It's called Henry Bibby Star Athletes, and it's a nonprofit for at-risk kids, for homeless kids, foster kids. I'm living in the Los Angeles area, and one of the areas, Orange County, there are 26,000 homeless kids in that area, and I want to do something about it. We ask for donations to help out because what I do, I put on basketball camps for the kids to go to. This past year, we've had a couple of camps. We had 30 to 40 kids to come in from different housing situations and play basketball for weeks and enjoy themselves. Playing basketball, having fun. Putting on their sneakers, and shooting baskets. Kids that really don't play basketball, you see the smile that comes out of them when they're playing. And we also took them to a Clipper game. They met some of the Clipper players. They'd never been to the sports arena downtown L.A., to the Staples Center to watch a basketball game. So it was something really interesting to do. I'm doing that now, and as you know or not know, I invented this basketball. It goes back to Dr. Naismith years ago, so I envision myself as an inventor. It's a 3-in-1 training tool to help kids get better. I remember Kobe Bryant was talking about a year or so ago how kids have gotten away from learning the game or knowing how to play the game. And what this ball does is teach you how to play the game, and training with Henry Bibby. That's what I say. You're training with a guy who's been in this game for over 40-plus years. And if you want your kids to get the edge in their basketball game, this is a tool. You have to go on my website, dribblepro.com, and see what this ball is all about to help you get competitive. So it does so much. It's a fun basketball, and the way we learn, Hal, is having fun. You have to enjoy doing things that you love doing to be successful, and that's what this ball teaches you: self-confidence, self-discipline. It's physical activity that you do is good for your health. We have oral hygiene that we're involved there. We teach them how to brush their teeth. We have people come in to talk about that. So we have a lot of area that we cover in what we're trying to do. So when I leave this earth, hopefully I can leave something behind that someone can use, and someone can say, hey, Henry Bibby thought about that to help out youth, to help the foster and homeless kids, and to help the kids who are playing basketball every day. So that's kind of what I'm doing in a nutshell, Hal. I'm just happy with that. I play racquetball every day. I love that. Trying to stay healthy, trying to keep the old weight down. You know, as I get a little older, the ice cream and candy and cookies look more tempting for me. Bread I love, so all that good stuff is happening in my life, and some of it I got to cut out.
Okay. You know, a life worth living, Jackie Robinson said, is only good if you can help other people and bring other people up. And, man, it's a pleasure to have you on the show, for your spirit, for what you're doing, for helping other people. Really nice.
That's what I like, Hal. If I can put a smile on kids' faces, if I can give them an opportunity to come to a basketball camp that they never get an opportunity to do, that's what I want to do. Everybody talks about.
If you can make that, they don't all have to be athletic. Read the pros. You just give them a happy moment. Give them some positive stuff. Give them something to take their mind off of the world. We all need a diversion. And wow, I'm happy you did.
I love doing it. I love, like you say, I love seeing the smile on the kids' faces when they come out. And I put my training tool in there, and they run around. The ball bounces different ways, and they play with it. They have fun. So if I can do that, that's great.
Henry, I have a question. This is Hal Bock. I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think this ball would help your old team, the Knicks, who are in complete disarray here in New York?
Yeah, you have the new team in New York right now. I think they could use a little help, I believe. So hopefully they're going to get on track. We had what I think our 25th maybe. Time passed. So 4 or 5 years ago, they had the anniversary of the last championship that we won there in 1972. I mean, is that 40-some years or what? What is that? So many years
don't
ago.
Remind us all, Henry. We start counting the years. We're really going to need some cheering up, and there's no balls that you can invent that's going to fix that.
Oh, we want to stay around here a long time. It's okay for us old people to talk about it. It's great. But the Knicks need a few things, and hopefully for the sports fans that are in New York, which are highly intelligent basketball fans, they eventually get what they want to get. Hopefully sooner than later. That's what I'm hoping for the Knicks.
Okay. We have 4 of us here. All 4 of us have a different brand of questioning and interest in Henry Bibby. One of the people here is Alan Blumkin, who is an absolute baseball maven. And in addition to that, he's a Pittsburgh Pirate fan.
Yeah, okay.
Your late brother, Jim, God rest his soul, was a Pittsburgh Pirate pitcher, and I'd like to introduce you to Al Blumkin and talk to him if you would.
I would love to.
Hi, Henry.
Al?
I'll tell you a story about your brother Jim. In 1974, he was pitching for the Texas Rangers, and the Yankees were playing in Shea Stadium because they were renovating the old Yankee Stadium. So my friend and I take off from work to go to a game in the afternoon in 1974, and Jim Bibby is pitching against the Yankees. So we figure a nice day, we'll be out here for 3 hours or so, get some sun, and your brother pitches like a 1 or 2 hitter, and the game ends in about an hour and 40 minutes.
Whoa.
He had some great games pitching. He was a late bloomer coming along.
I know that, yeah.
I remember Mike Smith, who was with the Philadelphia Phillies when I was with the 76ers. He used to come to all our basketball games, and we used to talk, and he would say, man, I've never seen anybody throw a fastball as fast as your brother. And the second part of it was we didn't know where it was coming to. It was going all over the place when it was coming, but we knew it was coming 100 miles per hour. So it was just good knowing that, being a part of that. I went to Pittsburgh, and Sports Illustrated did an article on us years ago. J.R. Richards was on the front of the cover at the time, and it's just for to have two family members out of the same family in sports for years and years. And my brother, who didn't play sports, was probably the best of the three. And he just came along at the wrong time, and that's what happened a lot now. I came along at the wrong time. As much money they're paying these guys now, I definitely came around the wrong time.
Wow.
So a lot of things.
I've seen your son Mike play a number of times too.
He's not a bad little player. He had a great 14-year career with different teams, and right now he's playing in one of the big 3-on-3 league that's going around playing, and it's kind of for some of the old timers to still stay in sports. So he had a great career, and my brother had a great career, and I can't be more happy than anyone to know that my brother and my son have gone on to be excellent in their sport, and we have some grandkids that are coming up too. That's going to be pretty good as well.
Oh, I want to ask you one thing. What was it like playing at UCLA under John Wooden?
Well, it was a great experience, and that's kind of what I'm doing now with my basketball and the nonprofit. The coach talked about fundamentals more than anything, and that's what I want to get back to, the grassroots of fundamentals of basketball. And that's part of the reason why I invented this training tool, is to teach kids how to play. Most kids think they know how to play, but they really don't know how to perfect the game, how to make it easy. And you look at the great players, the Kobe Bryants and people like that, have the talent to be great players, and they are great players, but all of us can't be great players. So some of us have to learn a different way, and we can learn through training tools that we get, and that's kind of what I'm doing. But Coach Wooden would teach you how to tie your shoe. I didn't know how to tie my shoe. You have to tie it a certain way to keep it tight. He would teach you how many pair of socks to put on, one to absorb the sweat and one to absorb the shock. So he would teach you certain things that would make you a better basketball player. And again, that's what I want to leave. I want to leave things like that when the kids say, hey, I learned this from the Dribble Pro basketball that helped me be a better player, and carry that on. That's what I'm trying to do. But I love my stay
at UCLA. Let me ask you one more before I let the other people in. What is your opinion of the three-point shot? Do you think that's good or bad for the game?
I think they have to do different things to open the game up, Hal. It's more entertainment now, and I think that's what has come in. They want to see a faster-paced game. People want to see more points put on the board. People want to see more excitement. So I think it's made the game much healthier with the three-point line. I was never a proponent of that when I was playing, in the college and the pros, because it's a tough percentage shot to make. But, as I played in the NBA a couple of years, I was in the top 5 in three-point shooting, so it helped my average. I just didn't make any money doing it. If I had the three-pointer when I was there consistently, I would have made a little more money, I think.
And memories are more important than money.
Sometimes, okay, Al. Sometimes. Speak for yourself, Al, okay?
Let me ask you, I'm going to jump in. I'm Ralph Tyko. I want to ask you what it was that your dad passed on to you and Jim that you're passing on that you passed on to Mike, and you guys will be passing on to your grandkids.
Well, my dad always gave a hard day's work, an honest day's work. And that's what I've always believed. You go out, you give a hard day's work, you do the best you can do, and let pieces fall where they may. Be honest in every setting that you have, and just work hard. That's what I try to pass on every day in practice. I worked as hard as it was in a game. I probably worked harder in practice than I did in a game. So the work ethics that he gave me, I carried it on to myself when I went to UCLA, and my son has had the same work ethics. I remember one kid was telling me when he was at Arizona, he would not leave the gym until he shot 1,000 shots every day, every morning, every night. That's work ethics, and that's why he stayed so many years in the NBA.
1,000 shots. I've worked out in gyms. 1,000 shots is a lot of shots.
It's a lot
Before
of shots.
I pass it on to my colleagues, my final question is, what did well, I have two questions, I got to say. First of all, there was the miracle of Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe. We've talked about this on this show before. One basketball, both those guys. How did Red Holtzman make it work? What do you think? Earl Monroe must have been incredible to have adjusted. Do you agree with me on that?
What an incredible person he is, and he and I are still good friends to this day. We talk maybe 2 or 3 times a month. Just a great person, and wanted to win. I mean, Earl could have come in and the show would have been Earl Monroe's show, because that's what he did in Baltimore. But he came in,
right.
He played within the framework of the team, and that's the way we played. Walt Frazier gave something over to Earl to be able to do his thing. But Red was so good as a coach. Red knew how to let Earl Monroe be himself when he was out there, and let Walt Frazier be himself when he was out there. So he picked and chose when he wanted these guys to be as good as they were. And they were the 2 guys of the team that could take over the team. Similar to Golden State, what they do is, down the floor one time is Steph Curry, the next time is Kevin Durant, the next time is Klay Thompson, the next time is Draymond Green. So it was kind of like that team, and that's what coaches do. Good coaches do a good job of, and that's what Steve Kerr has created up there. And before Steve Kerr came, it was Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson was the beginning of that era, and everybody seems to have forgotten about Mark Jackson, who kind of put that team together. From St. John's, had that first year where this team really blossomed into being who they were and who they are now.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. He had some communication problems and a scandal and this, that, and the other thing. I want to you mentioned the Warriors. I want to give quick credit to Jerry West, who has been a consultant up here. I live in Northern California with the Golden State Warriors. Just left, went back down to L.A., but has to get a lot of credit for building that team and advising the owners and general manager along the way. Give him a lot of credit. My final question to you was about Red Holtzman and how what were the differences in coaching styles between coach, there's only one way you can call coach, one thing, Mr. Wooden, and Red Holtzman.
Well, I think, Greg, Greg Popovich falls in that category. I think Steve Kerr falls in that category. These guys coach their team. They coach their team. They put in a lot of respect within that team, and the players understand that. I think that's what Coach Wooden did. We had, players with egos. We had Sidney Wicks, Curtis Rowe. We had John Vallely. We had Jamal Wilkes, Larry Fulmer. We had all guys with egos. And
Kenny Hines, too. Kenny
Hines, yeah.
He was a tennis player as well as a basketball player, if I remember.
He was a great tennis player, yes.
Right.
But all these great coaches put all their heads together and say, hey, I'm in charge. It's going to be done my way. And again, your scouting system, you go out and get guys that fit to what you want them to be. So if you want disciplined players, you go look at the discipline programs and you try to find some of the guys that are disciplined that will come in and do what you ask them to do. Tim Duncan, one of the greatest centers to ever play. I've seen Popovich chew him out up and down. And he took it and went on. He didn't sulk. So this is what these guys do. They demand the respect of the players give them respect, and you get winning teams. That's what it's all about.
Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to George Case. He's going to talk to you about what he needs to talk to you about.
Well, first of all, Ralph, and it's a pleasure that Henry's on the show, and I just wanted to mention, a couple things. First of all, being that my dad was a former Major League Baseball player, the bloodlines in baseball, and Henry, with you and your brother and your son, you certainly have, and grandson, you certainly have those bloodlines. I'm just curious, what developed you as far as an athlete? What age, and did your dad work with you? Did other people work with you? Did you have, natural ability? Where did it all come from, basketball-wise?
Well, as you know, it has to be within. You have to have a drive within you. I don't believe in motivating people. I think if you have to motivate people, you've lost everything you're trying to do. I want to be around people that are motivated. I got to have motivation already. I don't believe you can motivate people on a day-to-day basis. I think you have to get people that are motivated, who want to be successful, who want to be good, who want to be the best they can be. Then you're going to have something special. But if you have to go out and give a pep talk every night for guys to play, those jobs are tough. And you look at the teams that win. I bet there's not too many pep talks with the Golden State Warriors. There are not too many pep talks because these guys want to win. They know how to win. They want to win. They know what it feels like to win. And they're all in it together. It's not like one guy is looking to get the big contract. So they win. Everybody gets a big contract. They know that. So those guys are motivated. They're motivated. They have a plan. The coach has developed a plan for them. They have a vision, and they're working toward that vision. They know the end results. You got to know the prize. We had that at UCLA. We knew we were going to win. We knew it. Every night we went out, we knew we were going to win. So no one had to push me to play hard. I played hard every night because I wanted to win, and I wanted to be the best player I could on the floor.
Now, I have a question. I just wanted to mention something about UCLA because, Henry, you wouldn't remember this, but I did because it was very significant for me. Back in around 71 or 72, when you were at UCLA, and I wrote a letter to Coach Wooden, and the fact is that I said, we have a new basketball shoe. I was with Pro Kids at the time. I said, we have a new basketball shoe. I'd like you to try it with one of your players. Well, Coach Wooden was gracious enough to write back to me, and he said, Mr. Case, I would like to have Henry Bibby wear your new shoe. And so I sent a pair of shoes out for you to wear, and lo and behold, the next week or 2 weeks later, you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and all my coworkers said, my Lord, how'd you do that? And I said, I just wrote a letter to Coach Wooden, and the kind of person that he is, he wrote back to me a personal letter. And then a couple of years later, I met Coach Wooden, and we had lunch together, and he said, I remember your letter. He said, the reason I remembered it because I was also a baseball fan, and I knew George Case, the ball player, was one of my favorite players. So I was very thrilled to hear that and to meet him at lunch and our luncheon. We talked baseball. We didn't talk basketball. He was an amazing person. And one other story I heard, Henry, and you maybe can verify it, talking about discipline and getting people to play. I heard that Bill Walton one day during his career at UCLA came to opening day of practice with a beard. And, of course, as you know, he was a redhead with a big red beard. And Coach Wooden said to him, Bill, I would like you to shave your beard. As you know, we do not, have beards on the UCLA basketball team. And Bill said, Coach, I really like my beard. And then Coach Wooden said, well, Bill, we've really enjoyed having you play at UCLA.
Very true story. Very true story. And, he was a guy against facial hair altogether. He wanted the hair to be cut a certain way. He wanted a look. He wanted a professional look. We were representing university, and that's what he wanted. The Pro Kids shoe thing is definitely a true story. I was the only one who wore Pro Kids. I think everyone else was wearing Adidas.
Adidas. Right.
Yeah, and Adidas didn't feel good, and I wore Pro Kids the whole time. You're right.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because everybody said to me, how'd you do that? I said, really, it was just a letter to Coach Wooden and the fact that we had a new basketball shoe, and this was going to be wonderful exposure for us, because Adidas, UCLA was the national champ for many years with all the unbeaten, string, and they had, a great focal point with Adidas, because here was the best college basketball team in the country, all wearing Adidas basketball shoes.
True story. Both are true stories. Yeah.
That's terrific. Hal Bock, Associated Press.
I'm here. I have a question. I have a question for Henry. I'm wondering, the dominant force that Lou Alcindor, later Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was, the team had to adjust to a player with that kind of ability and that size. I mean, they legislated against him. The NCAA outruled the dunk for a year or two because of Alcindor. So I just wonder how your teammates and you adjusted to a guy with that kind of ability, that kind of talent.
Well, the thing about he and Bill Walton, they made the game so much easier. I didn't worry about my guy getting by me, because if he got by me, there was Bill. And the same thing with Kareem. Guys got by Lucius Allen, and Kareem was there. So you have such big forces in the back that control the game, and we, you just love playing with those guys like that, because they were so unselfish and so dominating. They just made you have those guys back there, and you win games. We had Swin Nader. Swin Nader was the backup center to Bill Walton, and never played a minute. Played maybe 3 minutes a game, and he was a first-round pick in the I think the ABA. So it goes back to show you how good those guys were for a player like Swin Nader, who never played, end up coming in and starting and being MVP in the American Basketball League. But those guys just dominate. I love playing with those guys. Unbelievable playing with them. The way they changed the game. Kareem just changed the game of basketball, with his size and domination of the game. As you know, when he was a freshman, they beat the varsity team that year. And the varsity team goes on and win the national championship. The freshman team beat the varsity team. So it's really interesting to show and see how good they were.
Right, and how deep they were, too, and how they kept replacing, like they replaced Shackelford with Wicks and Rowe, and what a tremendous recruiter he was. And I want to ask you, Ralph Tyko here, who recruited you as the USC coach after all that?
Well, Daryl Gross recruited me to go to USC. I was in Puerto Rico coaching, and I had a friend that was at Savannah State, and he said, hey, you need to call everybody. USC has a job opening, and I called up there and talked to them for a couple of weeks. I interviewed over the phone and became assistant coach. And, within 6 months, I became the head coach, and I was there for 9 years. It's a great run for me. We went further than any team's ever gone at SC. We go to the Elite Eight. We were one game away from the Final Four. We were playing Duke, one game away from the Final Four, and it was probably the epitome of my basketball career, was being able to put together 15 guys and get them that far. With limited ability in certain areas at times.
Mm-hmm. Want to mention, before I turn you back over to Hal Bock, I want to mention another center, Steve Patterson, came out of UCLA and followed Walton and wasn't half bad himself.
You know, Steve had a short career in the NBA, but a very, very good player. But, you know, when you're playing with guys like Sidney Wicks and Curtis Rowe, Jamal Wilkes, and Henry Bibby, it's tough to shine. You know, you have to kind of pick your spots to shine.
I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm glad you included Henry Bibby in that.
I had to throw him in there, okay?
I know. No false modesty, young man. Hal Bock, take it away.
Henry, I just have one more question. You had a long career, first as a player and then as a coach in college basketball. You had a long career in the pros. I'm curious about which game you prefer today in the year 2017, watching college ball or watching the pros?
Great question.
Well, I love the game, Al. I just love the game so much. I just watch basketball. You know, I like the NBA. I like to see how talented the guys are, and it's so different than college because the guys are so much faster, quicker, and bigger. So you look at it from a different standpoint. College is a little more strategy because they have zones in there, different presses that you use, different traps. So it's kind of a different game. It's a little slower game than the NBA game is. The NBA game is getting up and down the floor, more entertainment. But I like both. I like to see both. I like the contrast of both styles, and you know, I can sit and watch. I don't watch much. I don't watch it for a long period of time. But I like it. I watch probably the beginning of the game and the fourth quarter of the game. That's the last part of the game. The last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter is what I watch to see the guys really play.
Yeah. Henry, while I'm thinking about it, did you play baseball and did your brother Jim play basketball? And
well, Jim was such a bad basketball player that he couldn't play at all. He like had 2 left feet. He just couldn't do anything. But, you know, I was an okay baseball player, but I didn't like baseball so much. You know, someone throwing that ball at you, or I just didn't want to stand over there and try to ward that baseball off coming at me at 90 some miles per hour. So it was more basketball that I fell in love with, and I enjoyed it, and this baseball just took a second seat to it.
Yeah. Hal Blumkin, anything you'd like to ask Henry?
Yes. How did you feel coaching USC, which is, as most people know, is the primary rival to UCLA? Was there any sort of problem with that, or no? You know,
that's a very good question. You know, we played. I remember we were playing UCLA at UCLA, and the fans screamed out, "Bibby, that's a dead-end street over there. Get out, get out." So I would get all kinds of things when I would go to play UCLA over there, and fans would scream at me the whole time. But it gets to be a job when you get to a certain point in your life, and SC gave me an opportunity that UCLA didn't in the way of coaching, and I'm happy that I did. I had, like I said, I had longevity over there. I had some great relationships with people that hired me, and it was a great move for me. So I'm very happy with it. But again, I was interested in the UCLA job at one time, and everybody called me back. So I became mad at UCLA for a minute because I thought I would have gotten an interview for the job over there, and I did.
Did they call you a traitor, the fans there?
They did. Yeah, they did. We don't want an SC guy over there. But, Bill Walton would always say it takes a UCLA guy to make USC great.
You played for the teams basically between Kareem and Walton, right?
Say that one more time.
You played for the teams between Kareem and Walton, essentially, right? Is that correct?
Well, I played 1 year after Kareem, and I played 1 year with Bill.
Yeah.
I played 2 years with Sidney and Curtis Rowe and Jamal Wilkes.
Yeah, because
1 year with Jamal.
I thought those teams were terrific because they won without having a Kareem or a Walton.
We did. Once we had Steve Patterson, who was a very, very good center, but you had the NCAA Player of the Year in Sidney Wicks.
Yeah.
And right behind him was Curtis Rowe. So you had a guy named John Vallely.
Oh, yeah,
who was a great basketball player. So we had good players all around. When Kareem left, Steve Patterson came in, but that's when Sidney Wicks and Curtis Rowe came into play along with John Vallely and myself. Then next year, those guys, 2 years later, those guys leave, and Bill comes in with Jamal Wilkes, and we still had a great team, had some great teams.
Wow, because I remember watching them, and they were just absolutely incredible. And what you said about your team meetings and all that, I read several biographies of Casey Stengel, and he said the only time the Yankee players had team meetings was when he was managing was to divide up the World Series shares.
Well, we would have a few team meetings. We get off track a little bit.
Yeah.
We had some tough games. Coach Wooden has always said, I like to have a couple games. He said, I really don't want to lose, but I like to have some close games, which we did. During my career, we were 88-3. So we had some good win times in between those three losses for my career.
Henry, I want to ask you one thing about UCLA, and being the fact that I was in the athletic footwear business, we were very close to a lot of the college coaches and that kind of thing. But the thought was that in college and also in pros, obviously, as you know, you do a lot of scouting reports on the opposition. We were always told that Coach Wooden really didn't do that he wanted his players to perform, as you've said, fundamentally sound, play their best game, and really did not do a lot of scouting of his opponents. Is that correct?
I never saw a film or got a scouting report on the other team. Never did. Right. Not once during my time at UCLA. Coach would always say, do what we need to do and do it the best we can. And that's what we drilled on. But today you have so much scouting. It's unbelievable. When I was at SC, we were scout teams. In the NBA, you scout every night. Right. And everybody knows every play. It only gives people an opportunity to make a living. That's what it does. It creates situations for guys to work. Because if you are fundamentally sound and you know what you want to do and you know how you're going to play everything, you play it the same way. Doesn't matter what play they call. They could call 6 upside out. It doesn't matter if you know that if you have the fundamentals of what your team is doing on the floor. Right. So I'm not a big person on scouting. It helps. I think it helps late in the game sometimes when you know what people are going to do. But overall, it's what, you send a guy to the left, send a guy to the right, you shade it, you jump out, you double team it, whatever you do, that's what you do no matter what situation or what play they call. But we never watched a film or went over scouting my 4 years at UCLA, not 1 second.
Wow. Well, that bears out what I was told, and it's very interesting to hear you say that because, so many college coaches that we talked to when I was in the athletic footwear business, they would always, do the X's and O's, and they would do all the stuff about what needed to be done against certain players and certain teams. And yet there's UCLA, the greatest college team ever for those years. And like you said, you never even saw film or heard about a scouting report.
Well, we want to show how smart we are. That's what's happening this day and time. Everybody wants to show that they know the game of basketball. So this is what has happened to our game to a certain degree. There are fundamentally things that you do on defense. There are certain things that you do, and you can teach those. Doesn't matter what play they're in, what play they're running. It can be taught. When a guy's on the sideline or when he's below the free throw line, how do you play him? What are you playing? So it's you just have to talk that out a lot, and it works.
Well, it certainly worked for you at UCLA with what was it, 88 wins in a row or something like that. So that's amazing. And your record of losing only 3 games in 4 years, that's incredible at the high level of basketball that you played at UCLA?
Well, like I said before at the top of the show, everybody on our team was motivated. Everybody wanted to win. Everybody wanted to sacrifice for the betterment of the team. Everybody wanted to be national champions. It's easy when you have people like that. The Golden State Warriors walk through the NBA just having fun. It's like no pressure on those guys. They know what they're going to do every night. They can trust each other. They depend on each other. They know what the other person can do and he can't do. No one is trying to do it on their own. It's incredible. It's so simple. It's ridiculous. But we've complexed the game, for security of people that want to be coaching.
Right.
Well, they have teams now have like 6 assistant coaches.
You're right.
It's almost like football. They sit there and it's a committee. Didn't hurt the Warriors to sign after they weren't champions the year before, but they were in the finals. Signed Kevin Durant. That they went out and got better, and Durant after this season put some of his contract, modified it so that they can afford to get even better because you have to get better each year. So it's a matter of signing the guys that are going to make the sacrifice, something like that, to keep it together. And
it shows how good winning feels for a guy to give up millions and millions of dollars. We know he's made a lot of money, but we sit here and try to count his money. We don't know what kind of money he has, but to give up that amount of money to win basketball games says a lot for him. It says a lot for guys that give that up. Look what Miami did a few years ago when LeBron and those guys were down there, and they were trying to get Bosch and all that. They give up money. These guys give it up to win. I remember Jerry West said years and years ago, "I'd do anything to win. I'd do anything to win a championship." And this is a Hall of Famer player, and he wanted to win. So I don't blame Kevin Durant to try to go to a team that wanted to win, that was winning. He played against those guys, and he hear how those guys talk and how they feel. And Draymond Green would get on Kevin Durant when he didn't fall into place. I remember years and years ago, I'd go back and there's a story that Magic Johnson had when Maurice Lucas went to the Lakers. Before practice, Maurice Lucas was sitting there reading the newspaper. And Magic Johnson walked over to him and said, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. And that's why these guys win, because they sacrifice, and the most important thing is the team above themselves. That's why you have winning teams. It's not a complex thing. It's not complex at all.
Right. We're kind of running out of time. I want to ask you, because we have Madison Square Garden in the show title. What made the Garden different? Not just Knick basketball, college basketball, all around. What was that to come into the Garden to play? Tell me about your first experience coming into the Garden and how you felt.
Well, I remember there was another guy, John Gianelli, and Gianelli was from the University of Pacific. We were rookies, and we were going to one of the games, and it took us probably 25 minutes to cross the street. There were so many cars and so many people, we didn't know when to cross. So we finally get across, and we look back and said, man, are we in the right city or what? It's just a hustle and bustle city. There's no place to play basketball like Madison Square Garden. It's kind of like the old Forum. There was something at the old Forum in L.A. That stood out. But walking into Madison Square Garden, it was nothing like it. It's I get chills when I go back there now, just walking around the Garden, because the fans are so intelligent. Everyone has on a business suit. Everyone is just coming from work and with a Nathan's hot dog in their hand, and they are watching the best basketball you can see. It's just the atmosphere of the New York Knicks is incredible.
All right. It might have been a Nedick's hot dog, but who knows?
Right.
If they went to Brooklyn, then they get a Nathan's. But
they get a Nathan's, right? Yep.
All right.
Yeah, those are the hot dogs.
Gentlemen, I hope I'm not cutting any of you short in talking to Mr. Bibby. Any of you want to say anything or ask Mr. Bibby anything?
Well, as far as George Case is concerned, I'm very interested in everything you had to say, Henry, and I wish you well, and it's really been very enjoyable for me to be on the podcast with you.
Yeah, I want to second that, Henry. It's been a delightful session, and I want to thank you very much for coming on to this show, and best of luck in everything you try and do.
Well, I think you guys have had great questions for me, and push my Dribble Pro basketball out there, and pushing my nonprofit where we can help these kids reach some of their goals and their potential.
You keep posting anything you want on our website and events, this, that, and the other thing, and we'll put it up for eternity. Hal Bock, you were cut off there for one.
All I wanted to say was it's a great honor to talk to Henry and bring back the memories of those great UCLA teams and the great Knick teams that he played on. And I wish him the best of luck with his new project.
Henry, give us the email or the website again one more time.
You can go to dribblepro.com. That's with my basketball, the 3-in-1 training tool, and donations to the HenryBibbyStars.org is for my nonprofit, where we can get kids to come to the basketball camp. When people buy a ball, I'm going to donate $1 from the basketball that would go to help the kids to my nonprofit come out and spend a special day with me and get some tickets, and we go to a game and see a great basketball game. So if the people can come out and do all that good, we're really blessed to have that. So, but I thank you guys for having me on. Great questions, and hopefully we can do it again.
I certainly hope so. Everybody out there, keep on keeping on. We had a great one tonight. Thank you all. It was fantastic.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.